Welcome to Leadership Beyond Burnout. This is the show that's here to help you and your teams heal, lead, and succeed. I'm Dr. Kimberly L. Wilson. I'll be your guide today on this journey to resilience, growth, and transformation. Now, together, we're going to dive into stories, strategies, and insights that not only inspire, but empower real change in the way that you work and connect. Now, whether it's fresh ideas for resilience or practical steps to create balance and joy, each episode is going to be packed with tools to elevate your workplace and your life. So I want to welcome all the new listeners and to our fired up friends returning week after week. We're thrilled to have you back. Today, we are going to dive into some workplace trends for 2025, and I'm going to share with you a couple of stories. So let me begin right here. So I definitely wanted to start with this sharing as well some of my strategies for resilience this year. And then I want to tell you a really interesting story because I had a recruiter approach me. So one of the things for 2025, I was not going to make any resolutions. I wasn't feeling resolutions. I didn't want to be pressed to start something on January 1st and implement it because I'm healing from a surgery and just a lot of things are going on. So I made a few promises to myself as I move forward. And just promising to be consistent in whatever action I decide to take has been so very helpful because it doesn't require me to do anything new, but to just reevaluate as I reevaluated and reassessed as I left 2024 and come into 2025. Being consistent is going to be one of my key strategies for enjoying my 2025. And no more rushing. So I am removing busyness in my business. And it's hard to accept that you are the primary reason for the busyness in your business. Uh, I really discovered that I was leaving my team sort of stranded in that I had all these things in my head that I had not necessarily shared with them. So my expectations and their actions just weren't aligned because I was keeping it all hush hush and quiet. But so no more busyness in the business for 2025, no more rushing to do things last minute, um, even with serendipity. So I'm going to be very intentional and thoughtful about the things, the work that I accept and some of the work that I reject as we come up. So I wanted to share with you a story right now. I have not applied for any jobs, but a recruiter approached me for a large healthcare, multi-state healthcare agency, and they just went by licenses, and they wanted me to do some work. They kept asking me how long I had been a licensed clinician, uh, and I told them about 23 years or so, and they asked me about some of my experience. Keep in mind, I've been a professor, uh, led mental health teams, statewide teams, worked in group homes, severe persistent mental illness, uh, done a variety of different things, private practice, worked with the military, working with companies. And then she offered me a salary. And I did not intend to laugh out loud, but I really thought that she was joking because you heard all of what I just said, all the things I said. And she indicated that she wanted to the top of the salary scale for me being licensed 23 years was $46,000. And I kind of spit out what I was drinking, which was water, and just laughed. And I said, "You're kidding." I wasn't looking for a job, first of all, but I definitely am not looking for a job that equates to lunch money. Um, so that was very interesting, especially when we talk about going into some of the top trends for 2025, especially for some of our healthcare CEOs. And Deloitte interviewed some of those that are making over 500 million, and some of their top priorities are growth, consumer affordability, customer retention, and acquisition. And that's going to be very challenging if those are what you're offering clinicians and those that provide care, because you have to have the clinicians there in order to be able to continue some type of growth. So that's going to be a challenging endeavor. So I want to see where they're going to begin to cut costs in order to be able to keep that going. Customer affordability and growth, customer retention and acquisition, it's a nice interplay, but it can be contradictory if you don't balance it well. They've also indicated that they want to address workforce challenges. Now, some of the real challenges that are coming in 2025 is a lack of trust by the clinicians in their workforce. Now, over 45% do not trust their workforce to be able to do what's right for patients. That is staggering. Only 45%, and I said that wrong, only 45% trust that their workplace wants to do what's right for the patients. That is crazy. And only 23% believe that their workforce wants to do what's right for their workers. So when you have clinicians that don't trust the guidance that they're given by their workplace, that's going to show up in how they treat clients. They're going to go the extra mile, which sometimes is going to lead to burnout. And they're still having challenges even as we enter into 2025. Clinicians experiencing burnout, there's clinical talent shortages. And when you look back at what I said about the offer that I received to work full time at 46,000 with all the years of experience that I have, I would guess yes, you're going to have some client talent shortage, clinical talent shortages, and the rising labor costs, because it is more expensive out here. So you expect the talent needs to be compensated adequately to come and show up and do their best work while still maintaining affordability. So it's going to be really interesting to see how these major industries are going to be able to make that happen. One of the things that they can really begin to do is begin to redesign some of the workforce teams, begin having more interdisciplinary teams, and those are so helpful. I don't know how many of you have been on interdisciplinary teams, but when you have you have doctors, nurses, clinicians, administrative forces, um, and even law enforcement and other community activists and agencies, it really does increase the outcomes for clients. It makes everything better because everyone is talking and considering it from different angles. And more community collaborations. A lot of times the workforce has pushed programs on the community and not really asked them, what do you need, what is going to be helpful for you going forward. So the more entities that can begin to ask those questions, they're going to thrive more and more. Now, one of the other trends that we're seeing for 2025 is a desire to support workforce wellness. Now, but this is the problem that I have with that. There's a push to begin to integrate more technology and more AI into the workforce. But the workers are afraid of AI. They're afraid that AI is going to replace them and they won't be needed as much. So they're going to have to be able to show them ways that they can work with technology and that they'll still be valuable. I mean, how many of you out there are concerned about that? I'm really curious about that. How many of you are concerned that AI is going to take your job or replace you, or at least parts of it, parts of you, or the favorite parts of your work? So it's going to be important for leadership to design that integration between technology and humans so that it doesn't become something to fear and it's actually something to embrace. Because if you use AI properly, it can streamline some of these processes that don't need to have human touch. And you can focus on things which are more important. They also talked about for 2025 that there was going to be a trend of more working from home. Now, which is interesting because I've seen it coming up, especially with clients that I've had. I've seen some embracing the work from home and other agencies deciding, no, we want you to come back in. And there has definitely been an uproar when employees are asked to come back into work and they've been trusted to be at home for so long. And I think some of the challenges with this, and I'm really interested in what you think about this, they're not sure how to manage a work from home force. And there's a lack of trust in employees. And I forget, maybe some of you can tell me who the employer was. But the basic premise was that they trust the employees that they hire and they don't need to babysit them like their children. What a novel idea. You can trust me because you hired me. And when you begin to instill that trust, people want to work more. I know that I feel so much more confident and free and so much more innovative when I feel like my employer trusts me and that I have some autonomy to make decisions that are important. So the more that you can do that and you have leadership who understands how to manage those from work from home forces, that's going to improve more. That's going to allow them to do that. Now, they talked about more inclusion in leadership. And I don't know how I feel about that. Just because with the incoming presidential uh, president on January 20th, I'm not sure how programs are going to still be funded and whether or not there will be government support for diversity, equity, and inclusion. So it's really going to have to be that leadership that has bought in and believes that the more differential opinions that they have and more diverse opinions, that is going to be better for their bottom line, which it has absolutely been shown that it's better for the bottom line when you don't operate in the silo of one type of opinion. And so it'll be interesting to see if the funding still exists, if there's still incentives to do that, if they bought in to do that. Um, for clinicians and therapists, one of the trends is going to be more continuing on that telemental health work because it just offers so much continuing freedom. I think the challenge that's presented with telemental health is that even though we're beginning to get some ethics around that, there hasn't been a lot of education for clients about how that works and what works well and what doesn't work well. Now, me personally, whenever I do telemental health, and I'm not doing that much therapy, but when I do, I don't do couples. I don't feel like it works well in the virtual world, and I don't do those who have severe suicidal ideation or those who are having severe substance abuse issues and those who are hearing and seeing things that they don't hear. But clients don't tend to know that when they come in, so they get disappointed and they get to run around, and there are still many shortages of clinicians. At this point, I can't even give clients away to some of my best friends and colleagues because they are so overbooked. And when you go back to my story in the beginning about me being offered 46,000 with all of my experience, that kind of explains why you don't have enough clinicians, why there's a shortage of clinicians. So as we come into 2025, some of the trends for our workplace can be solidified with confident leadership, with employees who feel empowered, with if you have the wellness programs, ensure that they're financially supported. Um, and I'd love to hear some of your thoughts on this. We're here every Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 2 p.m. Pacific. Until next time, we shall see you then. Mm. Now, why am I not ending this appropriately? See